Hello guys and girls, and welcome to our seminar lesson for this week. For our reading assignment this week, as you can see here on the screen, the topic that we're going to be focused on is text structure. Now, if you have me, Ms. Dangerfield for Language Arts, we have talked about text structure this year, but it's been a while. It was actually before Christmas break was the last time we talked about it. We still have our posters hanging up in my classroom with the different organizers you can use for each text structure, but we haven't really done any review, like I said, since before Christmas. If you have Mr. Payton for Language Arts, I am not 100% sure if you've touched on this yet this year or not, but I will say that these are words that you have probably at least heard before, so I think this is going to be good review for you as well. The way this is going to be set up today is you're going to have this Ed puzzle first, and then after the Ed puzzle you're going to have a worksheet to practice. So we'll get to that. We'll talk more about that at the end of the video. And then the video itself is set up as an I do, you do. So basically what that means is I'm going to show you or model for you how I go about figuring out the structure of a text, and then after I do a couple of examples for you, you're going to try a couple on your own. So now that we've got all of that taken care of and out of the way, we are going to jump in here and get started. First thing we need to know is, what is text structure? When a teacher or a passage asks you to tell the text structure of the passage, what exactly does that mean? Text structure is just a fancy way of saying how is the text organized, and there are 6 different ways that a passage might be organized. They're here on the screen. Like I said, this is just a review, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about each one of these text structures, but what I will say is that over on our seminar Google Classroom page, I have posted a sheet for you that has each of these text structures. It explains what they are, so there's a definition for each one. It talks about some of the questions you might see with each of these text structures, some of the key words you might see with each of these text structures. So if you need to refer back to that, especially when you get to the worksheet portion of the lesson today, just keep in mind that that is going to be over on Google Classroom. All right, real quick, we're going to go through these. I'm going to give you a very brief explanation for each one. Sequence is going to be the steps to follow to do or to make something. So when you see a sequence text structure, think about like directions or steps to follow. What always comes to my mind when I think about sequence is a cookbook. It's going to tell you in a cookbook how to make something, how to cook something, and it's going to tell you the exact steps to follow to do that. So you're going to see words like first, second, next, and finally in the sequence text structure. The next text structure is description. Description is exactly what it sounds like. In the description text structure, things are being described. A lot of times with the description text structure, whoever is writing it is trying to paint a picture in your mind. So you're going to see a lot of sensory language, like what something looks like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. Next, we have chronological order. Chronological order describes events like in a timeline. So what happened first, what happened second. This is kind of like the sequence text structure, but with sequence, remember, we're going to be looking at how to do or to make something. And in chronological order, we're talking about order of time. So you're going to see dates. Compare and contrast is one that I'm sure you've heard of before. Compare and contrast tells how 2 or more things are the same or different. Cause and effect is when you have one thing described and then it explains what that leads to. So what happened and what occurred because of it. And then the last one is problem and solution. This is another one that's pretty self-explanatory. With problem and solution, it's going to present a problem and then give you possible solutions to that problem. Okay, so the next question we have to answer: how do you find the text structure? I have 3 steps for you. We're going to go over these really quickly, and then we're going to get into a couple of passages. If you see a question and it asks you the text structure, the first thing you have to do is read the text. Obviously, you cannot tell me what the structure of the passage is if you don't know what the passage is about. So, number 1, read the text. Number 2, look for clues that reveal the text structure. It's really good to have an idea of the types of words that you might see in each text structure. I'm not going to go over those today, but I just want to remind you, like I said a minute ago, there is that outline posted on Google Classroom. So if you want to refer back to that as you go through this today, you can. And then you're going to take what you've read, the information that you've gathered from the text, along with those clues that you found, and that takes you to step number 3, which is to combine all of that information to figure out what the text structure is. So if I were going to follow those steps, this is what it might look like. Here's my passage. Step number 1 is to read the text. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and I would love for you to follow along with me. Ice cream is a delicious frozen treat that comes in many different colors and flavors. 2 of my favorite flavors are strawberry and chocolate. Though both of these flavors are delicious, strawberry may contain pieces of fruit, while chocolate usually will not. Even though more chocolate ice cream is sold across the country annually than strawberry, both flavors taste great inside of a milkshake. So step number 1, we have read the text. Step number 2, I would always encourage you to go back and read the text again. And the second time as you read it, you're looking for clues that might tell you what the text structure is. So I've highlighted a few things that stood out to me here. First of all, 2 of my favorite flavors are strawberry and chocolate. So that tells me that this particular passage is actually focused on 2 different things, strawberry ice cream and chocolate ice cream. It goes on to say that strawberry may contain pieces of fruit, while chocolate usually will not. So that is a difference between strawberry and chocolate ice cream. And then at the end, it says that both flavors taste great inside of a milkshake. That takes us to step number 3, which is to determine the text structure. So we have to consider the clues that we found along with the information that we gathered as we are reading. So again, just to briefly cover some of those things, this passage is focused on 2 different topics, strawberry ice cream and chocolate ice cream. It tells me how they're the same and how they're different. The difference it gives me is that strawberry ice cream has fruit in it and chocolate does not. And then the similarity is that both flavors taste great inside of a milkshake. So since this is talking about 2 separate things and it's telling me how they're the same and how they're different, I can determine that the text structure used here is compare and contrast. I'm going to do one more for you, and then you're going to try a couple on your own. Step 1 is to always read the text. So this passage says, freezer burn may have wasted more ice cream than sidewalks. If you don't know, freezer burn is when ice crystals form on the surface of ice cream. These ice crystals can ruin the texture and flavor of the ice cream, but you can prevent freezer burn. Since freezer burn happens when melted ice cream is refrozen rather than eating your ice cream from the container as it melts, scoop your ice cream into a bowl and put the container back in the fridge immediately. Doing this should help you solve your problem with freezer burn. After you read the text, remember the second step is to look for clues. So go back through and see if you can find anything that helps you figure out what the text structure is. I've highlighted several things here at the end of the passage. First of all, it says rather than eating your ice cream from the container as it melts, scoop your ice cream into a bowl. And then it says doing this should help you to solve your problem, that is a big clue here, with freezer burn. So if I consider what I read along with the clues that I found in the passage, here is what I know. This paragraph focuses on the topic of freezer burn, and in the very last sentence of this paragraph, it tells me that having your ice cream get freezer burnt is a problem. It says the word problem right there in the last sentence. It also tells me how I can fix that problem. It says that rather than eating the ice cream from the container, you can scoop it into a bowl and then that will solve your issue. So based on that, I can determine that the text structure here is problem and solution. The problem is freezer burn. The solution is to eat your ice cream from a bowl instead of from the container. Okay, now that I have modeled a couple of examples for you, you're going to try this on your own. The first step is to read the passage. So I'm actually going to read this to you, and I'd love for you to follow along with me. It was the most beautiful banana split I had ever seen. In the middle of the bowl, there were 3 scoops of ice cream, chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. On top of the ice cream were a banana and a thick web of chocolate and caramel sauces. A huge puff of whipped cream covered the sauces, and a handful of crushed nuts dappled the whipped cream. On top of it all was a bright red cherry. Step number 2 is to look for clues. I am not giving you the clues, but I do have some multiple choice options here to see if you can figure out which one of these statements from the text is a clue that might reveal the text structure. Is it option A, in the middle of the bowl there were 3 scoops of ice cream? B, on top of the ice cream were a banana and a thick web of chocolate and caramel sauces? C, a huge puff of whipped cream covered the sauces? Or is it D, all of the above? Go ahead and select your answer now. Hopefully you recognize that the correct answer to that question was D. It is describing this particular banana split in a lot of detail. It's telling me what it's made up of. It's talking about what was on top. It is creating a picture in my head of this banana split. So that takes me to the next question. If this is describing exactly what a banana split looks like, tastes like, smells like, what is the text structure of this passage? Is it A, sequence, B, description, C, compare and contrast, or D, cause and effect? Hopefully you chose the correct answer. It is description. This is painting a mental picture in my head of what this banana split looks like by describing the ice cream and the toppings. And so again, the correct answer here was B, description. All right, let's try this one. Making ice cream is not easy. First, cream and sugar have to be mixed in a frozen container. Ingredients may be added at this point if desired. Next, the mixture must be stirred and whipped until the ice cream and sugar mixture is frozen. Depending on the equipment, this may take as long as an hour. After the ice cream is prepared, it must be kept frozen until it is ready to be served. Making ice cream is difficult, but most people would agree that it is worth the trouble. All right, I'm going to have you look back over the text again on your own and then answer this question. Which of the following gives a clue about the text structure of this passage? A, making ice cream is not easy. B, first, next, after. C, it must be kept frozen. Or D, most people would agree that. B was the correct answer here. It's got some keywords, first, next, and after. It seems like it's giving us some steps here for making ice cream. So based on that information, what do you think is the text structure? Is it A, sequence, B, description, C, compare and contrast, or D, cause and effect? The correct answer was A, sequence. Remember, sequence tells you the steps in order to do or to make something, and this is telling us the steps to follow to make ice cream. Okay, now that we have gone through that super quick review, in just a moment, you're going to be ready to move on to the next part of your seminar assignment today, which is this worksheet. Your seminar teacher has copies of these, so if they have not given those to you yet, make sure you ask for it after you get done with this video. I just really quickly wanted to go over the directions for this, and I will add that your copy looks a little bit different than the one that I have pulled up here on the screen, because your copy actually already has this first one done for you as an example. The directions say to read the following passages and to determine the text structure. Then put the information from the text into the appropriate graphic organizer. The first one has been done as an example for you. Again, not on this copy, but on your copy, the first page is already done. So what this is going to look like is each passage actually has two things that you are going to do. First, you have to read the passage and then tell me, what is the text structure? Is it chronological, sequence, cause and effect, problem and solution, or compare and contrast? After you have filled that in, then you have to draw a graphic organizer and put the information from the passage into the graphic organizer. So, for example, if you think chronological is the text structure, you are going to draw a timeline and put the events in the paragraph on that timeline. Or if you think that the text structure is cause and effect, you will copy this graphic organizer that you see here. You're going to fill in the different causes and then the effect that those causes lead to. If you have questions about that, if it's confusing to you, ask your seminar teacher, and if they are not able to help you, you are more than welcome to come over to my classroom with permission from your seminar teacher, and I can help you with that as well. And that's going to do it for our lesson today, and you are now officially ready to move on to the text structure practice worksheet.